Did it start? Oh dear. All right, it's go time. All right, so we did this as bell work just as a reminder of how to do these questions. Oh, I can't get rid of those. But anyway, 3i squared equals -1, right, everybody? All right, now we did a quad formula. Sometimes you got to be here, man. All right, so we spent like half the class just kind of doing those. Oh, I guess here are the answers. I didn't have an answer for number 7 or 8, but quadratic formula, the opposite of b, right? Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You have to have that memorized. Okay, now, don't write this down unless you want to write super fast. Don't be a note taker, be a note maker. Fundamental theorem of algebra simply says the degree of the polynomial is also equal to the number of zeros of that polynomial. Real or imaginary? Now we're going to go into imaginary zeros. Today, we're breaking up 2, 5. Today is the multiplication day. You're going to get zeros, then you're going to FOIL. Some of us need work on that. If you can't FOIL, you can't what? Factor, right? And then this is the same thing, linear factorization theorem. It's the same thing as the fundamental theorem of algebra. The degree of the polynomial is equal to how many factors that polynomial can be written out as. All right? I don't know if I said that perfectly, but who cares? All right. And then didn't you see, don't write this down. Haven't you written this down like 3 times already? Solution, root, 0 turns into a factor. Then for a graph, it's an x-intercept, right? All right, I added that last cinnamon. Cinnamon? Ooh, I'm hungry. They're great on pancakes. Apple cinnamon pancakes. Delicious with fresh apple chunks. All right, so now, complex conjugate theorem. I'd write this down. This is what it says that I have highlighted that I'll erase and then I'll rewrite. If I have a polynomial, hey, look at the back. Look at the right now the quadratic formula questions. What are those answers? What do they have in between them? Plus, minus. They're in conjugate pairs. The two from the bell work had I number zeros. And the polynomials in question were polynomials with real coefficients. So what the complex conjugate theorem says is if a plus b is a zero, bi is a zero for a polynomial with real coefficients, the only way you could have real coefficients is if its conjugate was also a zero. Because they're jerks in this assignment. They make you use that theorem. They make you know that by how they present questions. And I'll show you what that means here right away because we're short on time. Again, in 4th hour. I mismanaged time in this class. Here we go. All right, so now, right when I pause, then it's okay. All right, wait. Oh, here we go. We love this part, right? When I'm trying to scroll down and this thing makes me look like a fool. All right, here we go. We'll wait for it. How many times does this happen, by the way? Does this happen almost every time? Okay, now, we're going to be so fast on foiling, your head's going to be spinning. Because I shouldn't have to teach FOIL, but I'm going to. I always say that. I'm not teaching, it's fine, I'll show you. Okay, there. Here's the first one. It gives you everything that you need. Write the polynomial in standard form. What does that mean? No time. It means multiply it out. Next thing, you'd be a silly fool. Fool, if you did not multiply those two out first. If you multiplied these, and I had some people do it, heck, I just checked your homework. How many people didn't listen on their homework and made their homework 3 times harder than it needed to be yesterday? Okay, so you want to make your homework harder tonight? Go ahead and multiply those two first. Go ahead. No. You know what's going to happen is you're going to have I numbers, and it's going to be all... Watch what happens when I take the 2i to negative 2i. By the way, don't they have these conjugates, the conjugate pairs covered here, right? If negative 2i is a 0, then 2i was a 0. So they're not a jerk on this first one. And then, sure, I'm going to highlight this. I gave you plenty of time to write this down by me. And then here's what I mean about foiling fast. X squared, negative x and negative x, no time. No time. Negative, he goes too fast. It's because you should already know how to do that. All right, and then x times x is x squared. Why is he so mean? And then you should know that what happens with negative 2ix and positive 2ix at this point, what should you know? They cancel. And then all I have to worry about is 2i times negative 2i, which is negative 4i squared. What is negative 4i squared, by the way? Plus 4, and then that's what I'm going to put right here. Then I asked my first hour, hey, how many lines is this going to be as I start this? How many lines? Then nobody said anything, and then I kept saying, how many lines? How many lines? How many lines? And then someone says, 2, and I was right there. Dude, there's already 3 lines. How could you say there's only going to be 2? How many lines are there going to be of distribution? 6. I heard someone say 12. I don't know. You distribute the x squared, you distribute the negative 2x, and you distribute the 1. That's 6 lines. This is why I don't answer questions. Don't move that chair ever again. That scared me. All right. X to the 4th minus 2x third plus 5x squared minus 8x plus 4. And that's what f of x equals. Shall I move on? We'll pause for like 5 seconds. No time! All right, so, oh no! This is where the book becomes a jerk. Because look at what it says here. Write a polynomial function of minimum, right, great, standard form, with real coefficients. Shh! What does that mean if it has real coefficients and I is a 0, everybody? What has to happen? This is you like, you love math, smiling. What does that mean? What else has to be a 0? Negative I. They're a jerk. They make you come up with that. If you don't put that, you're doomed on this question. Then you're going to start in a foiling nightmare. Okay, then the other reason they're a jerk is now I have to write the factors from the zeros. The last one, they had the factors ready for me, and I could just go ahead and be a foiling fool. All right? And then x minus I, the only way that could happen, if I have a polynomial with real coefficients, if x minus negative I was also a 0. And then isn't this the exact same as the last question? Yes, it is. All right? So you should know that this is, he's going too fast, x squared, ix and negative ix, gone. What's negative, oh boy, what's negative I squared? What's negative I squared? Fumble. 1 plus 1. And then I'm going to stop here. I'm going to do this. You get x squared. If you don't know how to FOIL at this point, you know, I don't, it's going to be a rough year. Going to be a rough year. Or, you know, whatever method you use. Some people are still using methods. How many lines would I have next? 6 again. And then it'd be exactly the same as the last question. Shall I move on? Okay, so this isn't done. You'd have to do this, 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 combine like terms, and it's just like the last question with a different little answer. Correct? Yes, Mr. Samuels. Okay, so let's move on. Oh no, this is where you need me, but this is not the first time you've seen this. I actually, the day after an assignment, I assigned a question that separated the mathematical Marines from the non-Marines, and I wanted to see who could get this right without my help. Except this has a little added wrinkle. So again, real coefficients. I lost my pen. Real coefficients. So what do you know about 3 plus I being a 0? 3 minus I must be a 0. All right? And then, what do you know about multiplicity 2? How many factors should I write for this 0? 2 or squared. This one's only multiplicity 1, so you just write. But this has nothing to do with multiplicities. This has to do with the complex conjugate theorem. And you have to write this. You have to come up with this one. All right, so we'll call this f of x again. And then we'll say x minus 2 times x minus 2. And then, all right, here we go. Watch. This is why I make a movie, so I can save on rewriting stuff. X minus the 0. But then what am I going to do with that minus sign? And that's the purpose of number 2 in the bell work. You distribute minus signs, folks. But you got to write it in parentheses in order to have that happen. So then this becomes plus a negative negative. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to erase those parentheses now. That's the value of a movie, so I'm going to have to rewrite this. And then, well, this is where I came up with the first hour question. How many lines am I going to have? Get ready for that question. Then after I had 4 lines, someone goes, 2. I'm already at 4. Erase. Aye! Erase. Okay, so how many lines am I going to have? How many lines am I going to have? 9. Because I have to distribute the x. Okay? So we'll go ahead and start doing that. I'll write this over here. X squared minus 3x plus ix. And don't tell me this is too hard. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of care. Take a little care into this. Minus 3x again. This is why I said 9 lines. Plus 9 minus 3i. And then you're going to find out everything that has an I in it will cancel. You know what? I'm going to draw these lines above. Minus ix. Minus minus, so that's plus 3i. Everything with an I is going to go away. Well, that's a lie, but this becomes negative I squared. Oh, I'll write it. Minus I squared. All right, and then ix and negative ix. You made a mistake if everything with an I doesn't cancel, by the way. There's a discount double check for you. So it's probably a negative error. What's minus I squared, by the way, everybody? Plus 1. So this becomes x squared minus 6x plus 10. Then remember what I said about polynomials when you're given 2 zeros? This is minus the sum of the zeros, and then this represents the product of those zeros. How many people remember that? Does anyone care? Should I just move on? Well, anyway, look at the sum of these 2 zeros. 3 plus I plus 3 minus I. What happens to the i's? They cancel, Mr. S, and I have minus 6 minus the sum. Then what's the product of these 2 zeros? 3 times 3 is what, everybody? 9. Okay, no one's listening. I don't think anyone likes this. What's I times negative I? Negative I squared, which is 1. What's 9 plus 1? 10. So there I go. I showed you another little trick for that, but that's fine. And then guess what? You know what x minus 2 times x minus 2 is? X squared minus 2x minus 2x plus 4. Holy crap, and now what? How many lines are going to be shown on this one? 9 again. Hey, I'll do that offline. So, no, you know what? X squared? Wrong. X to the 4th. Never was good at math. All right. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Plus 10x squared. And then next line, minus 4x. Just keep calm and do math. It's relaxing. Plus 24x squared. You know what I'm doing? I'm organizing them, right? I've seen this before, right? I've done this before, huh? Just put them in like terms order. And then minus 4x squared. Or plus 4x squared. Wrong. Plus 4x squared. Minus 24x. Struggling there for a second. And then plus 40. Since I gave myself the space. Final answer is x to the 4th minus 10x cubed. Kind of going fast. Sometimes speed kills. So hopefully I didn't make any mistakes here. 38x squared. Minus 64x. What time is it above me? Yowza! Plus 40. All right, and that's what f of x equals. I'll take like 30 seconds to relax here. All right, here we go. Oh, we're not done. Those packing their stuff away. Oh, guess what? I stopped the video, so now this is locked up again. Yay, we'll wait a minute until it gets ready. Hooray. Love it, love it, love it. Love this new computer and this program. Fun stuff. Maybe I hit Control-Alt-Delete, cancel, and then does it work? Nope. This is great. This is awesome. I can't pause the video because if I pause it, it'll relock up. So we're just waiting. We're waiting for this to comply. This is great. Doesn't this seem to get longer and longer how long this gets frozen? Let it go. Let it go. Blah, blah. Hey! Maybe that cough saved us. All right, here we go. This is exactly like the last question in yesterday's notes, except it's completely different. I'm just kidding. Except that one of the zeros is what kind of number? An imaginary number. So as you're writing this question down, everyone's looking at the clock. Is he going to make it? Pay attention more to that. You have to know that if 2 minus I is a 0, what else is a 0? Everyone should be saying that. And then that's the trick today. They're trying to be mean. So this is not in a chart format like yesterday, but you had another one in the assignment that was worded like this, I think. These are zeros, and by the way, it's degree 4 anyway. 1, 2, 3 zeros, something's wrong. It's because you didn't find the fourth zero through the complex conjugate theorem. And then does this have to be the y-intercept? No. This could be f of 12 equals 300. It doesn't matter. The polynomial is y, or f of x. What am I going to plug in for f of x? Oh, fine, I'll write it. F of x equals a times x minus, I'm going to make this b. Uh-oh. Then x minus, where's he getting these letters from? C, x minus d. What time is it behind me? X minus e. Okay, then I ask you, what goes in for f of x? What number? What happened yesterday? 30. 30 went in for y. I don't know why I color code that. What goes in for a? You don't know that. What goes in for x? 0. What goes in for b? 3 or minus 3. You already called it negative 3. What goes in for c? Negative 1, which makes that plus 1. That's why I'm just playing the game. We're filling in the zeros in their spots. And it just so happens they give you the y-intercept. So that's why I get to plug in 0 for x. All right, now here's where we got a problem. Minus 2 minus I. See, that's how you got to write it. That's what you're going to screw up. This is not a hard question. It just has that distribution of a negative problem. And you got to take care of that. By the way, what's 0 minus 3? So this is a times negative 3 times 1. And then the next thing is distributing this minus sign. It's negative 2 plus I and negative 2 minus I, which are called, starts with a C, conjugates. When you FOIL this, this is 4, and I couldn't care less about the middle term because it cancels. What's 4 minus I squared? What's 4 minus I squared? 5. Negative I squared is positive 1. So this becomes 30 equals a times negative 3 times 1 times 5. What does that become? Negative 15, right? So when you divide by negative 15, I hope you understand you get a equals negative 2. Now here we go again. Are we going to listen to Mr. S today? Are we? Do not FOIL number 50. I just did number 49, and here's what the answer looks like. Don't FOIL after this. The whole previous part of this assignment is FOILing. I don't want you to FOIL the last one. I just want you to find the A through throwing in the zeros and that other arbitrary coordinate. Got it? So we get A equals negative 2. It goes in front, and then you write the factors, x minus the zeros. And yes, you can write them just like this at the end. X minus parentheses 2 minus I, x minus 2 plus I. Perfect timing.